Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is March 25th, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. Looking closely, you can see British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, upper level low, a cold one spinning over the Pacific Northwest, brought some lower snow levels across the region. Thunderstorm threat will again be active here today, as well as some mountain snows, mainly down through Oregon, as you can kind of see that onshore flow with that cooler air aloft moving into the Oregon area there. But look at across Alaska here. You can see this polar lobe diving down into the Gulf of Alaska. It's going to merge with the subtropical moisture here from this old Kona storm here down towards Hawaii. This will develop a strong storm off the coast of California and Oregon. That will spread some moisture back up over the region, but eventually it'll actually bring us some warmer conditions here, as we're going to be kind of an offshore flow as we go through midweek coming up. But we'll also take a look at the extended forecast, as the European model wants to bring some more troughing down across Pacific Northwest as we go towards next weekend. This is looking at National Weather Service Medford. Nice mountain snows coming up here Monday through Tuesday, with that storm system setting up shop off the coast here. And higher terrain, I-5, Northern California into Southern Oregon here. Watch out for some wintry driving conditions Monday through Tuesday. You see Crater Lake 4 to 6. You can see, what is this? Warner Mountain, 68 inches out there. And Mount Shasta City, look at that, 18 to 24 inches. So heads up out there with the storm system spreading snowfall back up over Oregon for the higher terrain. This is Seattle, 47 degrees yesterday. Record high was 68 back in 2010, so 21 degrees off of that. 8 degrees below average, trace of precipitation, but we should bounce back as we go towards midweek coming up here. So be ready for that, and then potentially dropping back down below average as we go through next week. And we'll take a look at those details here in a moment. This is day one thunderstorm threat here, and I'll show you some more detail on this coming up here in a moment. But you can kind of see the general area that could get a flash of lightning and some rumbles of thunder today. This is looking at the European, so we're looking at 6-hour precipitation. You can see that shower activity start to wind down as we go through tomorrow across the region. As this storm starts to develop here, you can see a very strong low pressure system starting to spread moisture back north across Oregon here. But, we'll take it. This Cascades are below average precipitation, and we need anything we can get. As you can see, this would be about Tuesday afternoon. And hopefully we can get some snow and some precipitation to the east slopes of the Oregon Cascades, locked in exceptional drought currently. Now we're looking at lightning flash density. This is the European model. Put this into motion, and you can see as we go through the day today, we do have that threat of a thunderstorm here, showing it kind of around Shelton, Olympia there. We'll take a look at what the HER and the NAM have to say here in a moment as well. And then it kind of wanes as you go through the overnight hours, at least on the European model. Going back through Sunday here, not much to speak of. I mean, it shouldn't be too big of a deal as we go through tomorrow. But now looking at the NAM, let's put this into motion here, and you can see the shower activity as we go through the afternoon today, kind of firing up a little bit down there towards Olympia, Shelton, maybe Tacoma. But you can see this onshore flow continuing to bring some mountain precipitation in the form of snowfall down to the Oregon Cascades. And of course, we will take it. We need all that we can get. And now that you see as we go on into Monday morning, this low pressure system's developing here, and it starts to throw this precipitation back up over Oregon. Models don't show this really impacting Washington too much, but you got to watch it closely here, because it's going to affect the high temperatures we get on Monday. It's showing some fairly warm temperatures here, up mid-50s here across some of western Washington. But if this storm sets up a little bit further north, of course the clouds are going to extend further north, and it'll keep our temperatures a little bit suppressed. So now looking here, you can see lightning flash density potential. This is the HER, high resolution rapid refresh, showing something similar to the European up towards Olympia, Tacoma, Shelton area, maybe a thunderstorm, as you can see some of that activity go on in through the later evening and overnight hours, all the way up towards Washington, Oregon coast, maybe there as well. But again, those shouldn't be too high impact, kind of one flash and done, maybe some small hail associated with that, some snow pellets. Now we're looking at 100-meter wind speed. This is the European. This is last night's run. You kind of got this onshore flow starts to relax here as this system really gets spun up off the coastline there. Look at this just monster mid-latitude cyclone starts pulling this offshore flow, which could actually start to warm us up here across some of the Pacific Northwest once the clouds clear out from the storm system. So yeah, you can clearly see the location of that and the offshore winds coming across the Pacific Northwest. This would be Tuesday afternoon. Now we're looking at 24-hour max surface temperature here on the GFS. So we go on into Monday. You can see some mid-50s showing up for Western Washington. Again, Oregon's going to be dealing with more clouds from that system developing off the coast, though, as we go. So it's going to keep the temperature suppressed a little bit there. Move into Tuesday afternoon. Look at that. Southwest BC, Western Washington, maybe up towards 60 degrees. A little bit colder as you go a little bit further south there, depending on where those clouds and that precipitation set up with that storm system off the coast. Now we go into Wednesday, and you can see much more warming here for Western Oregon. So maybe low 60s for Western Washington, warming up a bit for Eastern Washington, Oregon there for the lower terrain as well. We go on into Thursday afternoon, maybe one more warm day for Seattle and Western Oregon here before another trough tries to get down into the Pacific Northwest here. And look at this, by the time you go back out towards Saturday, look at it, maybe not even getting to 50 for a lot of Western Washington, Oregon. And again, as we go through the weekend here coming up, the troughing looks like it's going to make a comeback. So we got to enjoy these warm days as we go through the middle of the week coming up here. Just looking at Portland International Airport, the warmest day probably being Wednesday here, maybe one more warm day Thursday as we go through the week. This is Seattle, maybe starting to warm up a little bit Monday. You can see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday shown there. So those 60-degree days feel very nice this time of year. Now looking at total snow Kuchera, the main thing I want to look at here is that we're getting still some onshore flow, bringing that snowfall to the Cascades of Oregon coming up here, but then the system starts to spread moisture back up out of the south and could impact Oregon again. But we will take it. I mean, we need all the precipitation across the higher terrain we can get. We are at quite the deficit across the Washington, Oregon Cascades here. More on that here towards the end of the video. This is looking at yesterday afternoon's European. There's a trough we're dealing with now. Here comes that development of that storm system off the coast there. It brings us in that offshore flow and starts to warm us up midweek while California gets hammered by yet another storm. Then we start to bring a sharp trough here across Pacific Northwest towards the end of the week and towards next weekend shown there. Looks like it gets reinforced as well. I mean, the European just bombarding us here through its extended forecast as of yesterday, and it continues this troughing across much of the Pacific Northwest as we go way off into the extended. This is looking out over 2 weeks out by this time. So you have to take that with a grain of salt, but it is a pretty cool, showery signal here for a lot of the Pacific Northwest, as you can see. Now, this is looking at precipitation departure. I've been updating this day by day. I've been showing this last few days as well. We do have that deficit across Western Washington, Oregon, and across the Cascades, and this is not good heading into our drier months now. Once we start getting into spring, the precipitation starts to trail off pretty rapidly here across the Pacific Northwest, and that does not bode well as we move into fire season here coming up for this summer. This is one more look here at El Nino, and you can see we are now into neutral territory. We're actually 0.1, so we are in positive El Nino anomalies here across the equatorial Pacific. And if you look to the right here, you can see the evolution of this El Nino as this warm tongue of moisture just extends all the way across the Pacific Ocean, across the equatorial Pacific there. So there's a potential for a strong El Nino coming up here. As you can see, the ensemble mean actually showing it getting up towards 1.5 here by the time you get into November. That's looking kind of interesting here, folks. And we'll go over that as we go over the few months. You know, we have a lot of time to watch this forecast evolve. So anyway, yeah, upper level low for now. Strong storm develops off the coastline there. We get that offshore flow. We might warm up midweek, but then troughing looks like it's going to try to return here across Pacific Northwest. So hope you guys get to enjoy that weather here coming up midweek. And, you know, just keep your eyes on the sky today. You might see some small hail out there, maybe some snow pellets, maybe a lightning strike, rumble of thunder out there. But anyway, hope you guys have a chance to enjoy the weather coming up here. We'll do this again tomorrow, try to nail down some of these details on what's coming towards next weekend, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.